Hello, my beautiful friends. It is Mimi here today, and I'm so happy and excited to be here today because in today's sit-down talking video, I'm gonna talk to you guys about something that I find is so important and crucial right now to discuss. I'm gonna talk to you guys about how not to get overwhelmed by all the social media that is present in our lives and in a way has become such a huge part of our lives. And I find that every single person I know, including myself, at some point has gotten extremely overwhelmed by social media. And I think it's just so important that we create healthy habits around the way we use social media, not to get overwhelmed, especially on a day-to-day basis, because all the input that is coming to us every single day from social media, all the information, it is overwhelming. And if we're not aware of how we consume, and if we just mindlessly consume every single day, we're gonna be left anxious, we're gonna left feeling like we're nothing, that we're doing nothing, even if we are successful people. And this is just something that I wanted to talk about because I realized that even I myself, a person who does a lot or who has done a lot in my life, who travels a lot, who has attained a certain level of financial success, even I, when I go on social media and if I don't follow these strategies that I'm gonna share with you, because 90% of the time I follow them and I'm fine, but I'm a human, so there's that 5 to 10% of the time where I just start scrolling mindlessly and then an hour goes by and then I feel overwhelmed and I start judging myself, I start comparing myself, and I start feeling anxious and I start feeling like what I have done is not really, what I have done is not enough, and I start feeling overwhelmed. That's the most important thing, I think, out of everything that I personally feel when I just mindlessly consume social media, because I also fall down the rabbit hole once in a while, so I can relate to all of you guys as well. It just doesn't feel good. And whenever that happens, I just remind myself not to, or to be mindful next time, because I'm a human and I know once in a while it will happen. But it's just as long as most of the time we are creating very healthy habits, we're gonna be fine. So I will share with you guys basically my own personal strategies of how I have created, I believe, a very healthy relationship with social media. Some people negatively talk about social media, Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat, and it is funny because I always think about it this way. Social media is now such a big part of our lives. So when I see somebody bashing Facebook and saying, oh, it was poisonous, I deleted my account, or Instagram, it was just consuming my life, it's like poison, I deleted it. I understand, and I think it's better that they do that, but I also always think about the fact that everything I have in my life is because of social media. So I see all the positive things in social media as well. And it makes me always compare it to food because, you know, and I know it's a funny comparison, but just bear with me. Social media and food. If you abuse food, you will be obese, you will be unhealthy, you could end up in a hospital. But if you use food properly, you could be healthy and healing and thriving. So I look at social media the same way. It's all about how you use the tool. In this case, not food. So some people can say food is bad. No, it's not. Food is not bad. It's what food you eat and how you eat the food and how much you consume of it, on what type of food you consume. Same way with social media. It's all about who you consume, how often you consume, how aware you are of what you consume. That is creating this whole ecosystem of how you feel about the social media. And I generally feel very positive about social media because I have created, again, my own little bubble of how I consume and how I create social media. So the first thing and the first strategy I'm going to share with you guys is basically to turn off all your notifications. I haven't realized that this is not common until recently because I think I was hanging out with my mom and I realized she still has all these notifications coming from Instagram. And I was shocked. I'm like, this is A, draining your battery. 2, it is just anxiety inducing to be getting all these notifications on your phone of like likes and somebody commented and somebody followed you. I couldn't believe that she still had notifications on. And then I saw somebody else has notification on their phone, and I just realized not everybody's like me. So I think this is like one of the most important things to mention, because I have done this years ago. I think when Instagram first came out, I was very excited about it and I had all my notifications on. But then obviously, because I started growing on Instagram, I would get like sometimes 1,000 people follow me in one day. So imagine 1,000 notifications. So obviously I turned it off. And then I also turned off my email notifications. I turned off Twitter notifications, Facebook notifications, everything. Like, I do not have any notifications on my phone at all. And the only notifications I do get is if somebody text messages me or WhatsApps me. But here's a big but. My phone is permanently on vibrate. So I don't even hear, I mean, I will hear the vibration of the phone, but there is no like the sound of ding. I don't know if you guys can hear right now, something is going off, but there's like 2 laptops in the office. So I think Alex is logged in on one of them. So you can hear the bing of the message coming through. Like that, like really gives me anxiety just hearing that. So I became aware that it was really distracting to me, let's say to be with my friends or my family, or just to be doing something like working and my phone constantly going bzz. Not the buzzing, because the buzzer I don't really hear. I put it somewhere in the room and I can't really hear it. So I only see it when I actually get to my phone. But if it actually like beeps or makes like a loud noise, then of course I will hear and I will be tempted to pick up my phone, and then I will be completely distracted from what I'm doing or who I'm with, and then I will be going down the rabbit hole again. So these 2 things I think are the most important things. If you don't yet do it, please do it for your mental health. Because I think, and this is beyond social media, just these phones are wonderful, but just like the example with food, it's how we use it, whether we use it mindfully or whether we abuse it. If we abuse the use of the phone, then obviously it's going to negatively affect us. And I've even been explaining this to Alexa, because obviously now she's like much older. So sometimes she'll ask me to use the screen, and I just tell her like, it's not good for your brain. You're still developing, and the older you will get, the more screen time you will get. And she really gets it. Like, I can see in her eyes, she's like, okay, whatever. You know, but I think it's so important for us to realize, the adults too, that we can't consume, or like we cannot stare into this thing for 5 hours a day and expect that no negative consequences are gonna happen to us, even if you're consuming positive things, and we're gonna get to that. Even so, it's just like way too much blue light or whatever, like just the screen time into your eyes and into your brains, and it has everything has an impact on your brain and on your eyes. And it's just something to also for you guys to research on your own time and to look into, because that's not what I'm gonna cover here. I'm just strictly talking about the little things you can do to basically make your relationship with your social media consumption a positive one. So the next strategy I'm going to share with you, it's also a very important one. It's something I've been doing for years, especially before I had Alexa, because I had all the time in the world, but now it's slightly different, and I'll explain why. So before I had Alexa, obviously I wasn't taking care of anybody and I could be on my phone whenever I wanted to, but I realized I had this unhealthy relationship of always being on my phone, and then I just committed. And actually it was even the reason I became really aware of it is like at one point in the evening when I was on my phone, probably for like 2 hours straight, my eyesight became a bit blurry. Like, this never happened to me ever. I have like perfect 20/20 vision, but it really freaked me out. And then I started researching about it, and I just realized, like, I learned about all these things of like being mindful of how much screen time you have. And then I gave myself limits. So I said, I'm going to go on my phone 3 times a day. So let's say morning, you have about 15-20 minutes, max half an hour. Afternoon, same thing, and then evening. And then during these times, it's up to you what time. You can set a timer, or you can just remember to do it if you want to. Obviously, you don't have to go on your social media, but obviously it's better than consuming it all through the day. So whenever you do go on it, you really make this time to just be with your phone. There's nobody with you. You kind of go in your room, or you're in your own office, or you're maybe on the bus, or you're on subway. You know, you're just there with your phone. There's nobody else that you're ignoring while you're consuming. And then while you're there, you're present, you're answering emails if you have to, you're engaging with your audience if you're an Instagrammer, or you're just consuming stuff for fun. Maybe you're watching a YouTube video or anything really, like Twitter, Instagram, whatever you really spend your time. So this way you kind of set the limit. You can either put a timer or you can just look at the time on your phone and be like, okay, I have 20 minutes or maximum half an hour. So this way you can really monitor how much time you spend on the social media. And when you are there, those 30 minutes, those 15 or 20 minutes that you do spend on social media, I would say max 30 minutes, that you really enjoy it, you don't feel guilty, you're really there immersed, engaging, responding or commenting with your audience or with your friends that you have on social media. And that's it. The moment that is finished, the 30 minutes is finished, you set your phone away and you're present in the real world. You do the work that you need to do, you spend time with your family and friends, etc., until the afternoon. And then you're like, hey, my 15, 20, 30 minutes are here again. So you go on social media and you don't feel guilty, you enjoy, you consume, and you do it this way. Now, obviously, when I had Alexa, the first few months were easy because she was sleeping a lot. Now, she doesn't sleep at all. So I'm with her all day long, especially now she's on holidays for like the last 2 months. So I'm never consuming any social media with her. So if I'm ever with her, I might record, I might create social media content, because how else would I do it? Because I spend all day with her. She's literally out from 6 to 6:30, sometimes 5:30 till 6:37. So I have to create some content. So that is the only way I can create content, but I just create it. I record it for whatever, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, depending on how many stories, and I post it. I don't edit it. I don't add any kind of a fancy editing or anything. I just record, post, done, and then I put my phone away. So the creation part is much easier than the consumption, because once you've created, you posted it, you can put your phone away and never look at it. But when you start consuming, like the social media, the way it's set up is for us to consume and go down the rabbit hole. And that's why whenever I am on social media, like you guys might, some of you ask me like, oh, how do you manage to like post these things? Or you must be spending lots of time on your phone. I literally maybe spend 15, 20 minutes throughout the whole day when I'm with Alexa. And the time that I spend on social media is usually just creating and posting content on my, let's say, Insta stories. And then the moment I'm finished the filming part, I put my phone away and I don't look at it for like hours at a time, because I cannot go on my phone. If I go on my phone, she's gonna come and sit with me and start watching whatever I'm watching or doing. And that's not what I wanna model to her. So that's very important to me, which of course makes it hard for me to do work during the day. So the only time I'll ever go on my social media is if she's playing independently. Let's say she's in another room and she's like drawing or painting, which can now sometimes happen for like 10, 15 minutes. I'll quickly go and like respond to your DMs, or I'll check my email or respond to some messages. But if she's with me and we're actively playing or doing something, the phone is off, and the only time I ever pick it up is just to record a story for you guys. So that's how I personally do it. And then obviously in the evenings, I just give myself a bigger chunk of time. So probably an hour to like get through the messages and the emails and everything that I have to do at the end of the day, when I can finally sit down and look at a screen. So I actually consume very little social media. I wish I could consume more, because all the time that I have on social media, I end up just being able to use it towards the creation of content rather than the consumption, which I think both are important. You know, consuming kind of keeps you understand what's going on in the world, and it's also fun, but I still prefer the creation of social media, being able to post pictures or post videos or any type of other social media content, but I just enjoy putting it out there as opposed to consuming it. All right, so the next point is extremely important and something that I challenge all of you guys to do in the next 24 hours, okay? So you need to oftentimes, maybe every half a year, every quarter even, detox your social media. And I personally, I'm very active on Instagram. I'm not a huge consumer of YouTube or Twitter or any other social media platform, but depending on what you consume, you need to really detox and make sure that you only follow those people who make you feel good and make you feel positive. It's so important not to be following thousands of people that you don't know, that just like overwhelm you. That's how people get overwhelmed. They follow too many people, half of them they don't even like, and when they go on the social media, they just like wrapped up in all these feelings about other people who like they normally wouldn't even be friends with. So the way I perceive my social media and like who I follow are people who are interesting to me, people who I find inspiring or positive, or yeah, like people who I feel good about. When I consume their content, it makes me feel good, uplifted, inspired, and it makes me feel like I can relate to them. If I don't feel that way, like I might follow somebody for a short period of time, a month or two, and then if I feel like their content is not making me feel good, I'll quickly unfollow them. And sometimes I don't do that for a period of time, but then I have chunks, like I always leave some time every few months to just like open my, the amount of people I follow. And you can see on Instagram I follow, I don't know, I can't remember now, but it's not more than like a few. Let's check. How many people do I follow actually? It's way more. For a long time, I was only following like 50 people, but then I was kind of curious to see what other people are doing on Instagram. So now I'm following only 341 people and people, Instagram accounts, but I think it's way too many. I think I'm gonna go through it probably after this video and I can probably clear out at least 50 accounts. Just wanna make sure that I'm always following people who are making me feel good and uplifting me and affecting my mental health in a positive way. And this is something that we should also look at in our personal lives with our relationships. Like, if this person doesn't make you feel good, would you want to spend time with them? If they make you feel jealous or anxious or negative, would you want to spend time with them? Then why are you following them on Instagram? So it's all in your control. You are in control. It's your account. You get to choose who you can follow. And I almost never ever go on the explore page because again, that way you just go down the rabbit hole so easily. So the only time I'll consume is just I'll go on my own feed and see like what people that I actually follow are doing. And that's about it. So I think it's just so important to ask yourself, honestly, these questions, like sit down and think, does this person make me feel good? Literally, when you go through the accounts that you follow, you have to be so honest with yourself and be like, does this person make me feel joyful? Does this person make me feel good? Or do they make me feel resentful, unhappy, negative, jealous? What feelings and emotions do they evoke? And if the answer is not positive, just unfollow. You don't have to follow them. That's the beauty of it. And trust me, once you go through this detox of the people that you follow on social media, and then if you just consume those few increments of time throughout your day, your life will be so much better and you will have so much more life and you will not be overwhelmed by social media. And the last thing that I want to mention, and I think this one is perhaps the most important one of all, is be mindful when you use your social media or just your phone in front of your family and friends, because they're the most important people in your lives. And I see this all the time when I go to restaurants. I see people of, like, let's say table of 4 sitting down and everybody's on their phone. And I'm like always spying on people because I'm curious like what people are consuming. And yes, I'm completely comfortable to admit it. And I can see that everybody is chilling either on Instagram or Snapchat, and they're literally like posting, I'm just grabbing my phone, like they're posting pictures of their food and they're posting the selfies. Nothing wrong with that, I do that as well. But then you have to put your phone away, but then they sit there and then they edit and they spend so much time like in this world, and then maybe they start looking at other things. And like a lot of the tables, and this is Europe, I know it's even worse in North America because I lived in North America, and Europe generally, I find that people don't use their phones as much, well, at least before. I think now it's probably the same. So this is very unhealthy, and it's very unhealthy not just to ourselves, but to all of our relationships in our lives. So again, I'm gonna tell you what I do personally, whether I am with Alex or Alexa. If I ever have to use my phone with Alexa, by the way, even though she's a kid, I tell her, or she's a child really, I tell her, hey, I'm sorry, because there's always exceptions. You know, once in a while I have to respond to an email, maybe in front of her, or I have to make a phone call, or I have to send a message, and I'll apologize to her before I do it, because I always think of it this way. I always treat other people how I want to be treated. So if somebody was using the phone while I'm there with them and it's just the two of us, how would that make me feel if they just went on their phone and started doing something? So I always tell her, if I ever, which is like maybe 1% of the time, have to use my phone in front of her, I always tell her what I'm doing, how long it's gonna take me, and I always apologize. So I'm sorry, I really have to respond to this message. I'll be with you in just 2 minutes. And I think it's so important to use this rule with your children and to use this rule with your spouse or with your boyfriend, girlfriend, with your friends, with your family members, even your siblings, because we're ignoring them and we're just sitting on our phones, let's say in the room, our friend is over there or our partner is over there or our family members or friends are there, and we're just not appreciating the time we actually have here in the present moment with each other. So put the phone away when you're with your family and friends, especially when you're eating. Put the phone away, let it not be on the table. Usually we have this rule. We don't always enforce it, but because I feel like a lot of our friends are mindful now, but I remember before when the smartphones first came out and people were so excited to use their iPhones, we used to just stack the phones away and just put them like away, like, you know, if we were at a restaurant, just as far as possible so nobody can reach them. Always put the phone down. If you, let's say you're waiting for a phone call, you can leave the sound on, but put it face down so you don't see the phone going off if you get a message or something, so you don't get distracted. And this truly can save relationships. This can give so much more life to a relationship, and it can make you feel less anxious, more mindful, more present, more happy, more in the moment. Instead of looking at what other people doing and how they're living your life, focus on living your own life and you will be so much happier, so much more peaceful, so much calmer. And also the last thing that I want to mention in this video, I always say this, but I think it's so important to mention this over and over again, especially coming from somebody who is a creator on social media. Everything you see on social media is just highlights of people's lives. I know a person might share a lot, like for example, even myself. Let's say on some days I'll share a lot of my day. Maybe it will equal like 10 minutes in stories. Guys, that is still just 10 minutes of 24 hours of my day. Please keep that in mind when you're consuming my content and anybody else's content. You're only seeing a few minutes, which are the highlights, because people only share usually what inspires them or what looks good that they want to share with other people. So you're only seeing the highlights of other people's lives. And then you compare your life to other people's highlights. It's just not fair and it's not real. So please don't forget that about social media. Everything you see on social media is just the highlights. Most people don't share the real stuff because nobody wants to see somebody crying, somebody having a fight, an argument, drama, somebody being depressed or anxious. People might share their experiences once in a while, but for the most part, we all want to put out good content out there because most, I think, content creators out there, they look at our Instagram as like the vision board of what we want to create or how we want to be. So it's more of an art rather than the reality, you know? So that's how I think of it when I look at other people's social media sometimes. And I think, how is her life so perfect? Because even I, again, like I'm like you guys, even I get in that trap where I start comparing myself very rarely. It doesn't feel good. And I think like, oh, how is she so perfect? Or how is she so beautiful? Or how is her life so perfect? And then I just say, hello, just remember, people think that about you and your life is not perfect and your life is not, you know, ideal. You know, everybody has ups and downs. Everybody has challenges. Everybody goes to the washroom. That's right. We're all human beings. That's what I'm trying to say. And nobody, I tell you right now, has a perfect life. People have money, more or less, but at the end of the day, the happiness level actually is now scientifically proven to not be fully connected to how much you own of material possessions. So instead of over-consuming stuff on the internet that is not making you feel well, make sure to only follow accounts that inspire you, uplift you, They're like the vision board of where you want to go, who you want to be. And if you mindfully consume like that, your relationship with social media will be a completely different one, a very positive, uplifting one that can actually take you and your life in a whole new direction of a better life. So, that was one long sentence. That is all I wanted to share. I'm really happy to have had a chance to talk with you guys. So that is all I wanted to share with you guys. I love you very much, and please let me know if you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please leave me a comment down below. Let me know what resonated with you. Let me know what you started using as well. Which one of the strategies, if you've already been using any of them. And also, please, please, please share this video with all those that you care about, because I think we can all benefit from these strategies. I love you guys very, very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!
When you laugh, I laugh. When I dance, you dance.